Hi folks, my name is Phil and welcome to Grounded, the series which looks at airlines of yesteryear. This episode will take a look at the furniture shop which had its own airline, and I don't mean IKEA, but UKIA. Well, UKIA. UK International Airlines was established on the 15th of September 2005 and headquartered in Sheffield. They would be based at East Midlands Airport and plan to operate flights to Sharjah in the United Emirates and Islamabad in Pakistan. The airline also announced that their second base would be at Manchester Airport and hinted at future destinations such as Sri Lanka and even New York. There certainly was demand for flights to Pakistan from northern and central England, given how the national flag carrier, PIA, operated multiple flights a day to both Manchester and Birmingham. If the new carrier could tap into this market and do things right, they almost certainly would be successful, but as this is Grounded, you pretty much know how this is going to turn out. The airline planned to begin operations with two Boeing 767-200s and then bring in more aircraft as their route network expanded. There certainly was much scepticism in online forums regarding this new airline, as neither of the two websites were particularly encouraging given the photoshopped images of a battleship grey United Airlines 767. Behind the scenes, something was going on though, as in December 2006 a purple and white 767 turned up at East Midlands Airport. This was G-CECU, a former United Airlines bird, and was the oldest 767 in service. It was number 4 off the production line in 1983. It is worth noting that this was a base model 200 and not the extended range version, so it wouldn't be able to do Islamabad non-stop. Still, at least they had an aircraft. Despite the arrival of their first aircraft, things seemed to be moving very slowly, to the point where it appeared nothing was happening at all. UKIA were taking bookings in the background via their approved travel agents, of which there were 4 agencies in the UK and 4 overseas. These agencies, however, were required to buy £30,000 worth of seats up front and then sell them as part of their agreement with the airline. The 767 was registered with the UK Civil Aviation Authority in January 2007, but the airline itself wouldn't gain its AOC for several more months. This didn't hinder the airline though, as their website was updated to take bookings online directly from customers, and even had additional destinations available such as Dubai, Jeddah, Lahore, with Gatwick and Manchester on their departure points list too. A second 767 was acquired in February 2007. It will be sent over to Brunei for overhaul, with it expected to enter service towards the end of the year. This aircraft wasn't any younger, it was line number 5, although it entered service with United 2 months before its older sibling. Despite a lot of rumours regarding the outfit, particularly to do with staff issues, the airline was granted a UK Air Operator Certificate in September 2007. With the AOC in the bag, the airline could start operating, with its first booked flight scheduled for the 19th of October. I do love a good twist though, and the airline's first operational flight was actually on the 8th of September, when the 767 was used on behalf of Thomas Cook to operate a flight from Brussels to Agadir and back. The first scheduled flight was indeed Friday the 19th of October and departed an hour late to Sharjah and then continued on to Islamabad. The second flight, however, was cancelled, with the airline claiming that the runway in Islamabad needed repairs, though this was doubtful as other flights were running as normal. If it really was due to a runway issue, then it certainly was unfortunate timing for UK International. The schedule would see the East Midlands-based aircraft operating a twice-weekly flight to Sharjah, continuing on to Islamabad, operating on Tuesdays and Fridays. The second 767 was expected to join the fleet in December and operate Hajj flights during the winter. This would give the airline a lucrative source of cash. Things wouldn't go to plan though, and the airline had to operate just the one aircraft. The sole aircraft operated sporadically during October and November. However, towards the end of November the aircraft was repossessed and impounded at East Midlands Airport. UK International quickly paid up and the aircraft was released. Things would continue to go pear-shaped though, as the aircraft went tech. Flights resumed in December, however the Christmas Day flight to Islamabad was cancelled at short notice. 2 days later a message appeared on their website saying that all flights were suspended until February 2008 in order to allow the airline to make improvements. The intention was for operations to resume in the spring, by which time the second aircraft would have entered service, allowing the opening of additional routes as well as helping minimise delays. The onboard product was to be redeveloped too, with a new interior to replace the old United Airlines cabin. With the flying programme suspended, it meant that no more money was flowing in, and the airline found itself in a very tough position. In early January 2008, at the company's request, the UK Civil Aviation Authority suspended the airline's Air Operator Certificate and route licences, leaving UK International Airlines grounded. These guys wouldn't go down without a fight, and in February they were insisting that talks with new investors were well into their advanced stages. They stated that investment would allow the airline to acquire better longer-range aircraft to operate direct flights to even more destinations, with second-hand Boeing 777s being mentioned. Though this all came to nothing and the airline was forced into administration on the 2nd of April. So, what went wrong? Well, you could say it was a simple case that the airline had run out of money, but that wouldn't be very interesting now, would it? Unlike some other grounded candidates, UK International actually acquired its own aircraft and air operator certification. It didn't lease an aircraft from another carrier and piggyback on their AOC. They obviously had some money to start off with. They were even assisted by a newly created department at Boeing named Startup Boeing, who specialise in getting new airlines off the ground. UK International even featured in this full-page article in Boeing Frontiers magazine. Ironically, by the time it was published, the airline was already on the ropes. The choice of aircraft was an interesting one. The Boeing 767-200, whilst being a wide-body, just couldn't do UK to Pakistan non-stop. The two aircraft were probably chosen as, given they were line numbers 4 and 5 and had been retired a couple of years earlier, they were probably being sold for next to nothing. There was such an air of confusion before the airline began operations. Their initial website looked like it had been made as a prank. Their second, albeit better looking one, didn't inspire much confidence either, with bad grammar and that woefully photoshopped United Airlines 767 at the top. There was a lot of speculation online too, as the forums for both pilots and cabin crew were asking questions about this new startup. Once the first aircraft arrived, you would have expected the situation to quieten down, but if anything, it got worse. Having delved into these forums and filtered through the nonsense and pure speculation, it is obvious that there was a lot of trouble behind the scenes at UK International. The Director of Flying Operations, who had joined from future grounded candidate Silverjet, was suspended. The head of cabin crew followed, with the chief training captain walking out, and this was all well before flying had even begun. A close personal friend of mine was headhunted and offered an instructor role there, and following her interview in the airline's head office above the furniture shop, politely declined. It seemed there wasn't much confidence from prospective employees, as a number of cabin crew left before flying began. A number of their instructors had been terminated and replaced by instructors who allegedly didn't know how to work the aircraft doors. It didn't help when the training which was taking place at a hotel was suspended for 2 weeks because the airline hadn't paid the bill for the conference room. As is the case with a lot of very short-lived airlines, there's not always a lot of information available, and I have to gather up everything and try and piece it together, having worked out what is true, likely true, and what is just nonsense. With the case of UK International, there wasn't much by way of company records or magazine articles, just a lot of posts from pilots and cabin crew giving some insight as to what was going on, and having been in the industry myself at the time, I'm inclined to believe them. By now you'll know that I love a good twist, and there's one here too. Air Tigra was launched in 2004. Its head office was above a furniture shop in Sheffield and planned to operate a fleet of Boeing 767-200 non-ER aircraft from the north of England to Pakistan. Yes, UK International was the owner's second attempt at getting into the airline business. Air Tigra didn't take off though, and with a bit more time it morphed into UK International. As with Air Tigra, the management team brought in had tried to explain that the base model 767 wasn't suitable for the desired routes. However, the owner's rather bullish response was usually along the lines of, "I have people who will do this if you won't, can't, or are unwilling to do what I want, rather than what you advise." This led to most of the management team becoming disenchanted and leaving, or being sacked and replaced by yes-men. From then on, the project was doomed to fail. If you recall our episode on the short-lived Aviate Air, the UK authorities checked the financial stability of the company and the viability of their operation. They would also have to prove that they could operate flights without any income for 3 months. If this was done, then how on earth could UK International have been given its paperwork in the first place? As for the aircraft, the flagship 767 was dumped round the back of East Midlands Airport until it was caught up in 2011. Unbelievably, the second aircraft, G-CEMK, is still around. It's parked up in Brunei, as the airline never paid for the work done, so it was impounded. Over the years it's been robbed of various bits. Allegedly, the engines were removed overnight by agents acting on behalf of the company which owned them. It's a shame that things went so badly. There was potential for UK International, but it was doomed from the start by mismanagement. Evidently, they should have stuck to selling furniture. Until next time, thanks for watching.